The Olympics are just a few weeks away, and one of the main distance rivalries going into it is the 1500 meter between Josh Kerr and Jakob Ingebrigtsen. The rivalry started after Jakob Ingebrigtsen suffered back-to-back losses in the World Championships by Josh Kerr and Jake Whiteman, despite being the heavy favourite to win both races. Whiteman has been out due to injury for the majority of 2023 and has not been selected for the British 1500 metre team, instead competing in the 800 metres. This leaves Kerr as the biggest threat to Ingebrigtsen's chances of winning his second Olympic gold. The two have faced in this year's Bowman Mile, where Josh Kerr would win a close but convincing finish, although Jakob was also injured in January and appeared not to be in full fitness for the race. He has since broken his personal best and the European record, becoming the fourth man to go sub 3:27 in the 1500 metres, something Kerr has never even been close to doing. But who will win in their Olympic showdown, and what are each athlete's paths to victory? Since Ingebrigtsen dropped that monster time in the Monaco Diamond League 1500 metres, I think it kind of cements him as a slight favourite for this, and to many people a clear favourite. If you look at his rankings on his World Athletics page, he has been first in the 1500 metres for over 2 years. And his accolades speak for themselves. He's a 6-time medalist in the European Championships. He's an Olympic gold medalist, a 2-time silver world champ. He has 2 gold medals in the World Championships for the 5000 metres. And most of his races he tends to win pretty convincingly. He has a signature style where he essentially just winds up the pace, runs consistent 56 laps, 56, 56, 55, and just squeezes the energy away of the other athletes whilst he is still in perfect form. This style of running makes the races much less volatile than a sit and kick style would, because it's essentially a test of raw fitness. Jakob is going to go out at a certain pace that is going to be very fast. He's likely hitting 3:28, if not faster. And if you're not fit enough to keep up with him, then you've got no chance. And the fact of the matter is that no one really has the fitness he does. Barely anyone can keep up with him. And this was showcased very well in the Monaco Diamond League, where we saw Timothy Cheriet and Yared Nuguse, 2 top athletes. Cheriet being a world champion, Yared Nuguse rated 2nd in the world for the 1500 metres. They tried to go with Ingebrigtsen during that race and they just couldn't hold on. By the 3rd lap they were finished. This contrasts quite strongly to the way Josh Kerr runs his races. Kerr has a strong sprint finish due to his 800 metre speed, and normally doesn't win races because of his insane fitness, but more because he's able to stick with the pack and then outkick them towards the end. If we look at the way he beat Ingebrigtsen in the 2023 Budapest World Championships, he sat back in a fairly tactical position around 3rd or 4th place and then started to move up the field as time went on. And the last lap he breathed down Ingebrigtsen's shoulder and then outkicked him in the final 200. He essentially used Ingebrigtsen as someone to draft behind and let Ingebrigtsen do all of the work and pace Josh Kerr, so that Josh Kerr would have the energy to then outkick him in the final stretch. What's very interesting as well is that the 2022 Eugene Oregon World Championships happened in the same way, with Jake Whiteman sitting in a fairly tactical position and then outkicking Ingebrigtsen across the back straight, and then cementing his victory in the final 200 metres. So based off of their individual styles of running, it's really going to be a case of who takes control of the race. Because if Ingebrigtsen is allowed to slowly wind up the pace and get a super fast time going, then no one's going to be able to keep up with him. Although Josh Kerr has got great fitness and he's in the form of his life right now, Ingebrigtsen is still much fitter than him. And Ingebrigtsen himself is obviously in the form of his life if he's broken his own personal best. If we look at his World Athletics page, Josh Kerr has never gone under 3:28 in the 1500 metre, whereas Jakob has gone under it comfortably multiple times and gone under 3:27. So essentially Jakob Ingebrigtsen's key to victory is to do away with all this tactical sit and kick stuff and just bomb it from the beginning and hope that his supreme fitness can outwork everyone else. The good thing about this for him is that if he's in the form to do that, then there's no one who can really stop him. Because running is such a talk-based sport, if you're not as fit as someone else and the race isn't tactical, then it's game over. Something I think that's very important for Jakob to win this race is to get to the front very quickly and not time waste by trying to battle it out with other positions. He normally does like to front run to wind up that pace, but he needs to go to the front from the very start of the race. I think part of his success in the Monaco Diamond League was the fact that everyone kind of let him go to the front and didn't really challenge him. If we look at the 2022 World Championships, you can see he was in a battle with Timothy Cheriet the entire time. He said himself that he wasted a lot of energy in that duel with Timothy Cheriet, allowing athletes like Jake Whiteman to conserve their energy and then outkick Ingebrigtsen, who'd already used all of his energy trying to keep in front of Cheriet. I feel like Jakob isn't someone who's going to respond the best to pace changes, because his fitness is mostly aerobic, not that kind of lethal anaerobic speed that 800 metre runners tend to have. So essentially for Jakob to win, he needs to bomb it to the front as quick as he can and not really allow anyone to challenge him from the beginning, just as he did in the Monaco Diamond League. We also saw that a gap started to form between the athletes in the Monaco Diamond League very soon after the race started, and this stopped anyone like Timothy Cheriet or Yared Nuguse giving any sort of issues to Ingebrigtsen. He had the space to work. He didn't need to worry about lane dynamics or tripping over his opponents or anything like that. If you go on to Kerr's routes to victory, he essentially wants to see a repeat of the last 2 World Championships. Kerr doesn't necessarily need a super tactical race like we saw in Rio 2016, but he can't afford for the race to be a super fast sub 3:28 pace, because I'm not convinced that he's going to be able to keep up with that and then have the legs to outsprint Jakob Ingebrigtsen. I could be wrong, of course. He is in the form of his life and we don't really see him race nearly as much as Ingebrigtsen, but I think if Kerr wants a good shot at victory, then a sub 3:28 pace is not what he's looking for. In an ideal world, he probably wants something around 3:30 or 3:29 pace, something that's going to take the sting out of most of the finalist kicks, but because he's fitter than most of the athletes there, he'll still have the ability to drop a lethal kick. But of course, he doesn't want it so fast that Ingebrigtsen will just pull away with the victory. One thing that does play to his advantage is that the Olympics is very different to the way that Diamond Leagues are set up, in that the Olympics has no pacers. A common criticism of Jakob Ingebrigtsen is that it seems often very reliant on paces in order to get his fast times, and in the few races he's competed in without paces, he tends not to do very well. The World Championships are a good example of this. It's one of the few races that doesn't have paces, and he lost both of those races in the exact same manner. All of the Diamond Leagues have paces to pull everyone along, and also with the recent new invention of pace lights, it means he can stay exactly on target pace, and just wind up that speed slowly over time. If we collate all of Ingebrigtsen's performances, almost all of the sub 3:30 ones come from a paced race, the main exception actually being the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So of all Ingebrigtsen's performances, only one of them was actually quick in a non-paced race. But something that people don't realise is that Timothy Cheruiyot was also in that race and kind of helped pace Jakob Ingebrigtsen for a majority of it. Although Jakob started off as first place for the first lap, Cheruiyot took the lead after the second lap and did most of the work for Ingebrigtsen before Ingebrigtsen outkicked him in the final 200. We don't really have a clear example of Ingebrigtsen running a very fast time on his own without any paces. That's not to say he can't do it, but I find it hard to believe that he's suddenly going to be dropping 3:27 performances in a non-paced race when he's never done that before. You've got to couple this with the fact that the Olympics also has heats and semi-finals, meaning your leg is going to be a little bit more tired than for a single Diamond League race. And this will play exactly into Josh Kerr's hands. And with Kerr being in the form of his life, as I say right now, Ingebrigtsen is going to need to drop a very fast performance in order to win. Or Josh Kerr is just going to sit on him and kick towards the end, and we'll have a repeat of the World Championships. So with all this in mind, what's the final verdict? In the aftermath of the Monaco Diamond League, I said that Ingebrigtsen is probably the favourite for me now. Before that race, I was kind of slightly favouring Josh Kerr, but that performance made me think that Ingebrigtsen is in the form of his life, and he's just going to be able to be faster than everyone. Now that I've had a think about it, I'm really not too sure. It's almost a 50-50 between them. I think if you put a gun to my head and said that I have to make a decision, then I would say, and people aren't going to like this, I'm going to say Josh Kerr. I think Ingebrigtsen's path to victory is reliant on him being able to run a super fast time, and in the Olympic setting, I don't know how possible that's going to be. You've got to consider the fact that he's going to be running 2 races beforehand, and from what we know of him currently, he seems to rely on paces in order to get those super fast times. And unless he's running low 3:28s or below, I see Kerr sitting on him and being able to outkick him in the final stretch. Ingebrigtsen also didn't seem to take kindly to the idea that he's a bit reliant on paces. In an interview post-race after the Monaco Diamond League, he gave quite an icy response to the interviewer asking how reliant he is on them.
How many pacers were there in Rome, and in Tokyo, and in Eugene, and in Budapest?
Whilst I understand he's an elite athlete, so of course he's not going to like it when people question his ability, it does make me wonder slightly if he's underestimating the effect of them. That being said, I'm not confident in my answer that Josh Kerr will win at all. I think it's very possible that Ingebrigtsen just proves us wrong and just runs a 3:27 for the Olympics. He could even break the world record, who knows? I mean, I don't see it happening, to be honest, because of all the reasons I've mentioned, but if that record's going down anytime soon, then Ingebrigtsen's the man to do it. So I know I'm going to get crucified in the comments for saying this, but I think Josh Kerr's going to win it. But it's a super close margin, and it could really go either way. It's a 51 Josh Kerr, 49 Ingebrigtsen the way I see it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this though. Why do you think Ingebrigtsen might beat Josh Kerr? Is there something I've missed in my analysis? Am I overestimating the influence of paces? I'm sure plenty of people have strong words for what I've said in this video. I'm really happy with the success of the channel in the recent weeks, so I appreciate all of the support. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Happy training.